Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game that just finished from the Title Tuesday event. It is the final round and it is Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura. Some of you might, just be joining in the chess world and you guys have no idea who these guys are. You might be thinking, well, considering the first move they played, and the first move is in these games are pawn to f3 by Magnus and pawn to f6 by Hikaru, you could be, thinking that these are your local, local dudes playing in your bar or maybe someone's uncle, but these are in fact two of the strongest players in the world. Magnus Carlsen, arguably the strongest chess player who ever lived, won every world championship there was, every tournament there was, every event there was except one. He never won the world Fischer Random Championship, and Hikaru on the other hand has. And not only that, he's the reigning Fischer Random World Champion, even though we haven't really had a Fischer Random World Championship since 2022, where he defeated Yanni Pomnish in the finals. I guess they're still figuring it out whether it's gonna be in the freestyle or will FIDE take care of it, or who will have it. I have no idea if we will have one in 2025. FIDE will probably not allow them to call it a world championship, but we do have some tournaments. But okay, that's maybe subject for a different topic. In any case, if any of you are just joining in, maybe this is the first chess video you've ever watched and you think this is how chess is played. Usually it's not, and I've even heard that Magnus for Title Tuesdays doesn't even think about what openings he will play. He rather throws a dice and then whatever the dice says, that's what he plays, which is I guess kind of freeing. You don't stress about it. If you lose, okay, you can blame it on the dice. So I also can see how that would be interesting. But okay, let's check it out. It's quite an interesting game. A former world champion versus a reigning world champion. F3 versus F6. Let's check it out. I think both F6 is definitely the Barnes opening, as he defeated Paul Morphy with F6. But F3, F6, I guess we can also say it's the Barnes opening. I don't know if it bears a different name. So let's check it out. F3, F6. Magnus strikes with E4, and interestingly, there is a top level game with this exact same setup from the Lindoris Abbey. It was played in the Tal Memorial 2021 between Danil Dubov and David Paravian. Danil Dubov actually played this with white, and in that game knight to h6 was played. But here we have pawn to e5 by I think it's actually Magnus who has the black pieces in this game. No, it's actually Hikaru who has. No, I have it correct. Yeah, so it's Magnus with white. And it is now, as of move 2, that we have a completely new game. So as in 2021, Dubov actually seconded Magnus, and he was helping him out during his World Chess Championship match. So they could maybe, worked on this together. Who knows? So, okay, a5, we have pawn to f4. Look at this position. This is a position, when you see this, you probably think, okay, we just, capture here, and that's very good for us. But it's black to move. It's as if e4, e5, King's Gambit f4 was played, and then black decided to play f6 for whatever reason, and just decided, okay, it's time to resign the game. But it's not. Something like captures could be played, then you give a nice check, queen h5 check, then maybe a g6, queen captures on e5 with check, and then you pick up the rook on h8. So it'd be great, but it is black's move here. Pawn to d5 by Hikaru, e captures on d5, we have queen captures, and now knight to c3, attacking the queen, and queen to e6. And Hikaru and Magnus always have a lot of fun playing against each other. So far they've played, I'm pretty sure, more than 1,000 games together. Could be even more than 10,000. I have no idea. But, it's between 1 and 10,000. So f captures on e5, f captures on e5. Maybe also such openings are used, take the other guy out of theory, but this is 3-minute blitz. It's gonna get pretty crazy very, very soon. Knight f3, and now knight to f6. You could play pawn to e4 here, but it wouldn't be all that great due to knight g5. And we're not gonna overanalyze this as it's a 3-minute blitz, but we could show a fun line, where you could sacrifice, let's say, the bishop, pawn to c6, and you capture here. If black captures on b5, you can castle kingside, and I mean, who wouldn't play this? The queen coming into the game, king stuck on e8. This is beautiful. So, okay, knight f3, we have knight f6 by Hikaru, bishop to b5 with check, pawn to c6, bishop to a4, and pawn to e4. Now it is very much playable. Magnus throws in a bishop b3, attacks the queen, queen to f5, and now queen to e2, pinning the e-pawn, bishop to e7, unpinning, and now knight to h4, attacking Hikaru's queen, queen to g4, also you could go queen h5 and offer a queen trade. Hikaru offers it via queen g4, and Magnus trades. Queen captures, we have knight captures, and pawn to g3. So it's a pretty interesting position where Hikaru still has this pawn on e4, and Magnus has to decide whether to capture it. If he captures it right away, he can't right away, it's a black's move. But if it wasn't, he would definitely capture it. Pawn to e3 by Hikaru and pawn to d3 by Magnus. He says, all right, I'm going to capture this some other time. Rook to f8 and pawn to h3, kicking away Hikaru's knight, knight f2, and rook to h2. We have bishop to d6, putting pressure on the g3 pawn. Knight to e2, nicely defending, and bishop captures on h3. We have bishop captures on e3, removing the defender of the knight. But okay, the knight is still being defended by the rook, so you have to move it. It is attacked twice. Knight to g4 attacks the bishop and the rook on h2. Rook captures on h3, knight captures on e3, and now king to d2. g4 probably would have been a little bit better, putting pressure on the knight, so the knight has to go back. This way, maybe it's inviting black's pieces a bit too close. We have knight to f1 with check, and now we have king back to e1 by Magnus, and here g5 would be extremely, extremely dangerous. But Hikaru goes back, knight to e3, and now Magnus brings the rook back. Rook to h1, we have knight d7. Hikaru also wants to finish development. And if you check out the situation on the clocks, Hikaru down to 4 seconds, Magnus down to 5 seconds, so they're playing on those 2 seconds increment. We have king d2, knight to g4, and now knight to d4, getting the knight into the game. Rook to f2 with check by Hikaru. Probably getting the rook to e1 first would have been better than bringing the knight to d4. And now king to c1. If you play king c3, then bishop e5 is very, very annoying. And if you go something like knight to e2, which is the best move, it just looks weird. And with so little time on the clock, not something you want to play. So after rook f2 check, king to c1, also not that great, as you disconnect the rook, so if the rook ever moves from the back rank, rook f1 will cost you the rook on a1. So here Hikaru castles queenside, knight h to f5, Magnus finally activating that knight, and bishop to e5. We have knight to e7 with check, king to b8, and now knight to e6. Probably safest would be to just give up the knight for these 2 pawns. Captures, captures, and also you grab the rook here. For example, king c7, knight captures, king captures, and now pawn to a4, maybe pawn to a5, and you get the rook somehow into the game. You will have to give up this pawn, but okay, maybe something like this. And black is much better, probably just winning, but probably would have been the best course of action. But here, knight to e6 was played, and Hikaru just plays rook to e8. Magnus thought, okay, it's not a problem since I will also be able to attack Hikaru's piece, but that's not the case. After pawn to d4, yes, offering to trade pieces, but Hikaru just captures the pawn on g3, and the problem is Magnus's knight is stuck here. Yes, this knight is defended, and you can move this knight, but there's no square for the knight to move. You can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. And also, of course, you cannot go back. So that knight is lost and it cannot be defended. Magnus plays rook, captures on h7. But now Hikaru doesn't even have to capture the knight and give some checks to Magnus. He can just play rook to f1 check, which he does. King to d2, and now he plays rook, captures on a1. Magnus plays rook, captures on g7, puts pressure on Hikaru's pieces. Now bishop to e1 with check, king to e2, and now knight g to f6. We have knight to f5. This knight now cannot move, but bishop to b4. And Hikaru is just up material. There is nothing Magnus can do here. Pawn to c3, and of course knight to f8, offering to trade knights. Rook to f7, going after the f6 knight, and here knight captures on e6, and he was in this position on move 37 that Magnus Carlsen lost on time, but also his position is dead lost, as there is nothing more to be done here. We could throw in a couple of moves. Let's say bishop captures on e6, rook captures, this comes with check, king to d3, And now after something like rook f1, offering to trade bishop for knight, you have to choose, but basically you are down too much material. Knight h6 can be played. Let's say rook f3 check, king to c2, rook f2 check, king d3, whatever, you're going to bring the bishop back. And if you count the material, Hikaru is up a full bishop and a full rook. So up a rook and a piece. And of course, Magnus will lose this, whichever way he played it, he decided to lose it on time. But yeah, it's funny time we live in, where you have the two of the strongest players ever, one of them being arguably the strongest chess player that ever lived, the other being the reigning Fischer Random world champion. We have an f3 f6 game, and it's just crazy times we live in, where we can have such a game. I mean, imagine in 1966, if you had let's say a Bobby Fischer and Mikhail Botvinnik play f3 f6. It's completely unimaginable. Even in Kasparov's time, there's no way you would have Kasparov and Karpov play such a game. They would rather chop off their arms, I would say. But yeah, it's crazy times, and we will be seeing more and more of this, so hope you guys are enjoying it. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was also an important game for the standings. I believe whoever won gets to either win the tournament or be in the top 3. I can check, let me just check real quickly. Okay, so top 3, 9.5 points, all 3. Javokir Sindarov, Gukesh Domaraju, and Hikaru Nakamura finished the tournament with 9.5. I think Javokir wins first, Gukesh second, and Hikaru wins third place in this Title Tuesday. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. F3, F6, the Barnes. You just have to know theory of the Barnes. I would like to thank Christopher Medema, Elias Wilhelm, Peter Van Dulst, Derek King, and Charles Benjamin Flynn for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.